Uncle Larry here. I don't often make comments that are explicitly political in nature, but today is a rare exception. This may come as a surprise, but I'm going to offer a defense of federal opposition leader Pierre Poilievre. I'm undertaking this despite serious misgivings about some of his policy proposals and the fact that at this stage I am unlikely to vote for his party. My primary background is in philosophy, as many of you know. As such, I see my main task as one of conceptual clarification, investigating how concepts work in our language. I know it's not exciting, it's tedious, and only a nerd like me could love it. But it does help us get closer to determining the difference between sense and nonsense. Pierre Poilievre is articulating certain concepts which we should take a closer look at. One of them is common sense. He relentlessly wields the loss of the government's common sense with a bluntness and crudity that seems off-putting to many. But his message is resonating with a large swath of the Canadian public. And, given the hysterical reaction of his opponents, he's living rent-free in their heads, too. So why is that? What are we missing? Well, understanding and applying common sense is crucial for basic things like navigating the complexities of daily life. Common sense encompasses practical knowledge and sound judgment based upon everyday experiences. It encompasses practical, efficient problem-solving skills. Common sense implies adaptability, the capability to adjust one's actions and decisions on the fly, according to whatever context is presented. It is both intuitive and logical, allowing individuals to notice patterns and to make informed judgments. We should be clear about one thing. By portraying himself as a champion of common sense, Pierre Poilievre isn't necessarily discounting the importance of expertise, as his opponents claim he does. Example, if a boat is lost at sea, you don't take a vote to see which passenger you want to steer the ship, do you? You designate the person with expertise in navigation to get you home. That's not at issue with Poilievre. The issue is what counts as expertise. Wisdom can come from many places, not just from theoretical elite education. It can come from life experience and practical skills. An understanding of societal complexities is not necessarily cultivated through formal studies alone, but by common sense. And to some extent, Poilievre is right. It's also worth noting that successful political leaders aren't always ones with the most formal education from the best schools inside our largest cities. Think about that. Indeed, some of our more effective representatives have been high on practical skills and emotional intelligence. Another one of Poilievre's main targets is the concept of elitism. Elitism is characterized by the belief in the existence of an elite group of individuals who possess superior qualities, abilities, or privileges, often leading to their dominance and control over others. It might involve exclusive access to resources, to political power, to corporate power, creating a hierarchical structure within society. Elitist attitudes can contribute to social inequality and the perpetuation of class distinctions. Well, Pierre Poilievre relentlessly accuses the liberals, big business, and academia of this very kind of elitism. The belief that says only a select number of elites possess the education and expertise to hold power, and he correctly thinks this sidelines the perspectives of millions of Canadians. There's no balanced governance, there's no real diversity of ideas. He is zeroing in on something, on a perceived detachment of elites from the everyday experiences of everyday people. It can lead to a lack of empathy for their needs and preoccupations. He clearly wants to be seen as a defender of people who feel ignored or even secretly despised. This is especially true of the working classes and people in parts of the country that our current political system, by its very nature, let's face it, just underrepresents. Another concept Poilievre focuses on is corruption, the abuse of power by those elites who claim to possess this superior knowledge. On his account, they are prone to authoritarian tendencies, relying on a perceived intellectual superiority to justify decisions that sometimes are altogether at odds with what most Canadians want. And he wants you to think about that. and about the lack of checks and balances in our current political system, potentially leading to autocratic rule, the erosion of free speech, and the suppression of dissent. Poilievre's followers believe that we're already far down this dangerous path. Let me offer a quick aside here. What irks me most about Poilievre and his caucus right now isn't even a domestic issue. In recent weeks, the Conservative Party has signaled a withdrawal of support for Ukraine in the face of Russian barbarity. Now is not the time to retreat into isolationism. I've said this publicly, I will say it again. The Conservative Party will never get my vote if they walk away from Ukraine. It's that simple. But enough of that. That's just my aside. Let's get back to the issues at hand. All of Poilievre's bombastic pronouncements about common sense, about out-of-touch elitism, about corruption, might just be clever maneuvering on his part. He is, after all, a lifelong politician himself. He knows how the game is played. But I suspect he does believe a lot of what he's saying, and many Canadians believe him too. They also think that common sense has been abandoned and replaced by a form of smug elitism that ignores them completely. And Pierre Poilievre has tapped into that with a sledgehammer. It just might make him our next Prime Minister.